I'm LaVette Clifton, and I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Ruel Hollywood, a show that takes an in-depth look at the movie industry in the Southeast and beyond. On today's episode, we will revisit an interview that Jessica Page had with Miko Defoor, who's the co-lead actor of the Nikio Films feature, Winning Lisa.
Hi, welcome back. I'm here with Miko Defoor. Welcome. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
And Miko starred in Winning Lisa. And I'm going to ask you a little bit. Co-starred in Winning Lisa. And I want to start off with some questions about what you did before you started acting. You were a model, right?
Yes.
Tell us some more about that.
You laugh. I started off at what we affectionately dubbed as a ghetto model.
Oh, really?
Yes. And what that entailed, I started off in high school up in like Northeast Ohio, Youngstown, Cleveland, Akron. We really didn't have any major modeling agencies. So a lot of our shows, which were runway, were at nightclubs, urban leagues and things of that nature. And I mean, we could do straight couture where you walk out and walk back, but people pay $20 to get in. They want to see a show. And I don't strip. But we had to do something to entertain the crowd. So we came up with something that we call entertainment modeling, where you do like 2 or 3 turns at a time. I was famous for mannequin. Flipping my jacket, I knew one guy that could roll a hat down his arm and not look at it and catch it with his fingers. Different tricks to, make the crowd, go crazy. And I joined the Air Force and did shows throughout Europe, the Philippines. Came back to Georgia, my last base, and that's where I separated. And I was like, well, I don't want to go back to Ohio. I don't like the cold anymore. And came up to Atlanta. Went to a show, a place called, I don't know if you remember it, called Teddy's Live down at the Underground. And watched a fashion show, and I was like, wow, I really missed that. So I went up to the lady and I was like, I think I can, probably be an asset to your company. You taking any model? She's like, well, let's see what you got. So I did my thing. She's like, where you from? I was like, Ohio. She's like, we're from Ohio. So we hooked up, and then from there it went to doing shows for Bronner Brothers with the late Carolyn Hall, who started the BB Babies that are world renowned. Went on to model with Bavante and tour. We opened up. We had a troupe of. I met like 4 of the guys that kind of did the same type of tricks that I did, and we formed a troupe, and we traveled all over, like the Bahamas, the Caribbean.
Wow.
Opened up for like the Whispers, Mickey Howard, Will Downing, and even now, we just did a show about a month ago, a new club they have up here called South Beach, and so we're still trying to do that as well. So it's still in me, but now I have the commercial agent, so I do the commercial print, and I'm professional, and I do the straight couture runway shows where the designers want to just show the clothes, and I'm like, all right, that's cool. I'll just walk down and walk back, but every now and then I get that itch to do a trick or whatever, so.
Do you get to smile when you do runway shows now, or do you have to keep the straight face?
Well, it depends on the show.
Yeah.
And I always talk to the director or the choreographer, what do you want? Do you want straight couture, no smiling? Or if I'm doing a wedding expo, I have to smile. I mean, it's a wedding day,
Right.
So, yeah, it's just a matter of communicating, that's all.
So this is a smooth transition. What you were doing before is a smooth transition between modeling and acting. I was going to ask you, how did you make the transition between modeling and acting? But it seems like you were doing a lot of acting as
stage,
a model.
A little. Well, I did a lot of acting just coming up through high school. I mean, the bullies that I couldn't fight, I would imitate them, behind their back and make fun about them. But it's a difference. There is a difference between going into acting from modeling. There's a lot of hard work, a lot of dedication. I got into it just off of a humbug. My manager from a company called MTM said, hey, I want, because I had a lot more hair. You'll see in the trailer, or as you saw in the trailer from Winning Lisa, my hair used to be like this big. So she said, you know, pick your hair out, and I want you to go and audition for this movie. You know, it's depicted as the 70s. I think you would fit in fine. I was like, she's like, there's going to be, you know, some single women down there. I was like, okay, where is it? You know? So I went, and they looked at me, took my picture, you know, took my information. They said, you know, we like you, come back at 6. So I called her, told her. She's like, oh, that's a callback. That's great. That's good. It's like, okay. Came back again. They pulled me and 2 other guys and stuck us in this like yellow square, and these people with these hats on and these clipboards came and looked at us and took notes and whispered and pointed, and you know, and I'm like, okay. And they were like, okay, you come here, you know, give us your name and this, and we're probably going to be calling you within 2 weeks. We want to use you. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. So I didn't think anything of it. Long story short, they wanted me for a stand-in, and there's good news and bad news about being a stand-in. Stand-in basically, you know, they don't want to pay the actor extra money to come and sit while they're adjusting lights and cameras and everything, you know. So they pull in a stand-in to dress them the same and pay them $15, $20 an hour to sit there. You know, you don't have to look exactly like the actor, but you know, just kind of
similar.
Yeah, and then they pull you out, put the actor in. So the good news is when everyone else has to leave, you get to rub elbows with the actor, you know, but the bad news is you won't see me in the film.
Right.
And so I'm like, okay, well, who am I standing in for? And they said, well, you're Coach Boone. Like, Coach Boone. I'm like, who's Coach Boone? You know, and then I found out that was Denzel Washington. So the good news was...
still might be
Oh, yeah. Oh, I see it. Oh, watch out. We got some water. You okay? Deep breath. There you go. Yeah. But... And I had to keep.
Well, that's quite a compliment to you.
It was. I mean, it was fun. I was like, wow, okay, Denzel. And he came, and my back was to him when there was a scene in Remember the Titans where, you know, we were in the cafeteria, and I was like talking to the players. And you know, they were giving me directions. All right, stop me, go right there, and you know, a lady will come with a piece of tape and like mark it. All right, and that's, you know, where he's supposed to step. So I'm doing all this, and I see everybody's eyes like, and I'm like, what?
What did I do?
Yeah, you know, and I felt his hand like, hey, and I looked, and it was him. And I said, be cool, bro. Keep your cool. And I was like, hey, what's happening? How you doing? You know, but I wanted to be like, whoa, you know, but I kept it cool. I kept my cool points, you know. And, you know, during those 2 weeks, I talked to him. I watched him. You know, I watched his demeanor. I watched his technique and how seriously he took it. How he looked out for a lot of us that were, you know, just extras and just stand-ins, always looking out to try to get them camera time. And that was an education within itself, you know. And he was like, you know, you need to look into this, you know, take some classes, start off small, and you know, you got a good look. I think you would do fine. And I was like, all right, cool. But I let it kind of fall down by the wayside, and then Fighting Temptations came into town, and I got a chance to talk with Cuba Gooding and Beyonce, but anyway, but he kind of like, you know, threw me that same advice, and I was like, you know what, he's right, because as an extra, I was like fighting to get that camera time, and like, okay, the camera's going to be right here, you know, let me jump right here so I can get some time, you know. And after like 12, 13 hours of that, I was like, you know what, it's time, you know, I think I can do this. And I told him I won't be back as an extra. You know, I have a couple major films under my belt, and I can become SAG, you know, the union when I want to. So I started taking some classes. First class, a guy named Mike Panuski, who's done some major films around here. And he was like, I just went to go what they call audit the class to see, you know, if you like it, if you want to be a part of it. And he was like, you want to participate? I was like, yeah. He's like, here. And within an hour, I went from being, you know, this guy who had just met this girl or whatever, you know, and we ended up, you know, kissed a girl I never met before, and then turned around 20 minutes later, I smacked her to the ground and was beating her up, you know, and I was like, wow. I was like, wow. But it boosted my confidence. I was like, you know what? I think I kind of like it. As soon as I said like, that's when the bug bit me.
Right.
And it's been in me ever since. And now it's something that I live, breathe, eat, and sleep 24/7. Even if I'm on vacation or whatever, I'm either looking at a script or I'm like, my mind is constantly working, you know. So that was a transition, but there were a lot of classes. You know, I took a lot of festivals and a lot of independents that were good and bad, but you know, it was a learning experience all the way around.
Well, speaking of living, eating, and breathing acting, how is it that, what is it that you do to get prepared for a specific role?
Well, for a specific role, first I'll go someplace quiet and read the script, you know, and it's hard to not automatically give this character something, you know, but I'll just read it as an outsider the first time through and see, okay, what is this character, you know, what is he doing? What is the place, you know, it could be a period piece, because I wouldn't walk the same way in the 30s as I would, you know what I mean?
Right.
Or even my mannerisms, my language, the way I say certain things, if it was in the 70s, you know? So I look at that as well. I look at the character and I make it a point to force myself to respect that character. Because if I don't respect that character, no matter what it is, then I kind of, it's like if I'm not feeling it, then it shows on camera, on the film, you know. So that's the first thing, and even if it's a serial killer, you know, I find some kind of similarity. I make myself find something, you know, familiar between me and this character, you know, that I can, you know, bring forth. And that makes it a lot more easier for me, because, you know, even if it's a Hannibal Lecter, you know, I'm not going to act crazy and wild and fangs and long nails, because in my mind, I think what I'm doing is correct. It is a way of life. So yes, if you come near me, I will eat your ear. Right. But I could be just as calm, cool, collective, and have an IQ that's skyrocketed.
Wow.
You know?
That's amazing.
So it's mostly respect for a character, and then I go from there.
Do you find it hard to make a connection? Well, you talked about getting into is it like getting into the mind of this character? Finding some sort of connection inside yourself?
More so yourself. You know, even if it's not myself, you know, I pride myself on being blessed to travel the world through the military. So I've encountered a lot of people, a lot of personalities, a lot of attitudes, and I've always pulled from that, you know. And sometimes, I mean, people will think I'm crazy, but this is, you know, most of us that act, people think we're crazy anyway. You know, I will go to a mall, I will go to the airport, and I will sit and I will watch and I will look at people. I will stare at people. I will see how they act, how they react, you know, and I will take that and I will lock it somewhere in the back of my mind. So it's easier for me when I'm reading, you know, for a particular character to pull something, you know. I got crazy uncles back in the day that drank moonshine, you know, played bid whist, you know, dominoes slamming on the table. All that's right here, you know. And when I need to pull from it, I can, and that makes it easier as well.
Do you have a preference between lead and supporting roles?
No, I do not have to be on the starting five. I will come off the bench long as I play. You know, I'm a team player, and that, especially if it's with someone that is organized. You know, that I believe in. I believe in the project. I know it's a good project, and yeah, I'll help out any way I can. You know, even if my one line is like "Hi," you know, or you know, "Your beer, sir," or what have you. If I believe in it, then it doesn't matter. I will participate, because, like I said, it's in me. You know, it's just a chance for me to work out, and I possibly can learn. You know, I will never stop learning in this industry.
Well, tell us now about the role that you play in Winning Lisa.
Keith. Keith has a connection with a lot of men in America. Period. And I know a lot of brothers are going to get, or men, period, are probably going to be like, shh. But
look,
it's
I know these guys.
You know these guys. You know, I mean, well, I'm gonna be real with you. Yeah, you know, when we start off with the relationship, you know, you get the steak, you get the lobster. You know, we go out to the Cheesecake Factory, and you know, and to the mall and Lennox, and you know, the little diamonds, and then, you know, after we get to know you, and a lot of time goes on, you know, then it's like, what kind of Chinese food you want?
Right.
You know,
or frozen pizza.
Yeah, you know, that's for you, you know. So, and I mean, it's sad, but it's real, you know, and a lot of us are working on it, but we begin to take you for granted. You know, and that's what happened with Keith in winning Lisa. He began to take her for granted. He knew that, and a lot of times we kind of know that you'll be there because you were with us when we were sick, when we were, you know, going through problems, through troubles, you know, and we always have it in our mind, oh, she's gonna be there for me. So in the meantime and in between time, I'm gonna go kick it with the fellas, because you know the fellas really don't have a woman like that, so they're constantly in my ear to, hey, bro, you know, hey, let's go to the club, you know, hey, we got this shorty over here, you know, we want you to meet, yada yada yada, and I'm like, yeah, and then my lady is like, look, no, not tonight. So finally, I break away from it, and I go kick it. In my subconscious, I know it's wrong. And I still miss her, you know, but something happens and I hit the lottery. I get money, so now I go to the other phase of wilding out. You know, yeah, let's go back to the steak and the lobster and the Linux and hey, lovely. And then it hits me that, you know, a lot of these women are only here because of
the money.
You know, the money, the rims, the car, you know, my bling. And so now, you know, it comes to light that, you know, wow, is there anybody I can really trust? And then you know, and as we always do, we flash back to like, wow, you know, she really had my back, you know.
You always flash back to the old girlfriend, the one that you knew was always going to be there for you.
Yes, it's true. But some of y'all women do the same thing now. Because there's some good brothers out there, some good men, and y'all like, no, I don't like his job, and he ain't making enough money, and he drive a little Honda, and yada, 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 and he work at McDonald's, but he didn't tell you he actually owned the McDonald's. See? So,
okay.
yeah.
Hey, rich man.
All right, yeah, go ahead, man. Just give me a quick fix.
Look, Lisa, why can't you just accept the fact that I'm never going to be the person that you want me to be?
Hey.
Keith. You're not gonna with that one. Second, third, fourth. You've had too many chances. You have blown it.
And 24 hours later, we finally know the Georgia man who had one of the 2 winning tickets in the largest multi-state lottery payout ever.
Keep ballin', keep hustlin', keep flossin', keep riding, keep shining, keep trapping, keep stacking, keep flipping, keep bread, but keep grinding. Keep ballin', keep hustlin', keep flossin', keep riding, keep shining.
I can't do this.
Well, after they take out taxes.
Okay, Miko, tell us a little bit more about some projects that you're working on now. And anything else you want to share? Well, if you also want to share something interesting about the film too, but also elaborate on other projects that you're working on.
Which one you want first?
Interesting things about the film.
Well, the interesting things about the film, let's see, was well, the good thing is how we pulled together, you know, and that's happened on a couple projects where it's like a family, you know, it's like a family get together, and you know, you build relationships on that, and you know, you take it further, maybe even to another project. So we always had fun. We had, you know, we static here and there, but the main thing was is to push. All right, some interesting stories. One, let's see, me and Nikki were doing a scene on the couch where I was trying to get you know, to get back in, you know, with the champagne and the shrimp and everything, and so we were going through it. But mind you, we had been there. We started off, I think, maybe 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and it was I think 5 o'clock a.m. You know, and there's just 3 of us shooting this. Me, Nikki, and the cameraman, you know, because we didn't want to hold anybody else there that, you know, we absolutely didn't need. So we're going through it, you know, we're going, you know, through our actions and everything, and we look over and the cameraman is actually like, you know, and we're finished with the scene and we're just looking like, hey, excuse, hey, he's like, oh, I'm so sorry. He's like, that's all right.
Did you get the shot?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes,
so
we
he
did.
didn't.
He was on
he
didn't
didn't
move.
knock
Yeah,
the camera
it's kind of
over.
like, you know, I have an uncle that, you know, when he drinks, you know, he can be drunk and he'll just hold that drink. He'll be asleep, you know, for like an hour and won't move, won't spill a drop. You know?
Right.
So, but yeah, the camera was steady. What else? Oh, and I'm sure as Nikki told you, you know, the budget was low, so we really didn't have a lot of money for, you know, lighting crew and 5 different lights. And there was one scene in the kitchen that wasn't really lit the way we wanted to. And me being a model, I actually had did a show maybe a couple days before, so I had a spotlight in my trunk, right, for a runway. So something said ding. So I went in my trunk, got the spotlight, got some duct tape, and I came back into the apartment and grabbed the vacuum cleaner. Right? Grabbed the vacuum cleaner, grabbed the duct tape, and I taped the spotlight to the vacuum cleaner, plugged it in, and bounced it off of the ceiling. And it was actually one of the best lit scenes in the movie.
Wow.
In my opinion, but yeah.
Right.
But it came out good, very good. I mean, it looks like we had a lot more lights than we actually did. So that was an interesting story as well. And other projects. From there, let's see, I cut my hair. I got a chance to work with Robert Townsend, Black Family Channel, on something called Playhouse 22. There were like 30 plays that were competing to be in the top 8. And I made it to the top 8. And
Well, good.
a lot of people said that
Congratulations.
one of ours was like a lot of the people's favorites. I played a devil. You know, who was it's interesting. It's called Crime Played, but it was a joy to work with Robert Townsend, who was definitely hands-on. He taught us a lot about working with the studio, and it's kind of different. Film, you just have a camera. You know, sometimes you may have 1 or 2, and you could say cut, and you know, the camera switches and changes angles. But when you're dealing with television, like we are now, you have more than one camera.
Right.
And so you have to be aware, especially, I mean, we're sitting stationary now, but if we were actually moving about, I would have to be conscious of, you know, not blocking the camera from getting a shot of you. So he taught us all of that, and that was like a master class within itself. So worked with him on that. We have some other projects coming from there. Did a play, a couple plays with a young lady named Kanique Sky, who was a local American Idol. Going to be doing a play called A Broken Man in about 3 weeks. Did another project called The Mirror Has Two Faces, where I played twins. One with the hair out and crazy, the other one is kind of patted down, and you know, one is a nice guy, one is like an evil twin, like a ghost in the mirror. That was fun.
So you played both
Yes,
parts.
played
Okay.
both parts. That was fun, working with the green screen. You know, that was kind of like my debut with that. So that was quite an experience. What else? Working on something now called Happy Hour. Getting ready to shoot the trailer for that, and basically just go to a couple more film festivals and see what's going on. Been going back and forth to LA a lot. I still have my feet in this red clay of Georgia, so it's hard for me just to pick up and move out there. But I do go for the seasons, pilot season, episodic season. I'll stay 2 months and get in and try to, you know, be seen. And,
Right.
I've been pretty lucky with that, with The Shield, West Wing, a couple other major shows. Talking about going out possibly September for a couple months. But at the same time, I'm trying to, I'm like a warrior, you know, here with the independent film market, and trying to help those that are serious do it themselves, you know, do it ourselves, because no one else is going to do it, you know, and it's sad, but, you know, a lot of people in Hollywood and other places have that mentality that when you deal with actors from Georgia, all we're good for is extras, or one
Right.
line, or y'all too country, y'all don't know what you're doing. But yet and still, when our talent moves to LA and blows up, now it's like, oh, you're LA now.
Yeah.
So, and I'm trying to just wipe that whole stereotype out, and main thing is funding. If I were, just like Nikki said, if the funding came, we have directors of photography, we have writers, we have people who can edit, we have people who can light, who can do everything that needs to be done for a major feature film. You know what I mean? And it's going to happen soon. And I hope I can be a part of it, whatever it is.
Well, good.
Yeah.
Sounds like you're doing some awesome things.
I'm trying.
And I thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you. Thank you.
I enjoyed meeting you.
Yes. Good. Hope to be back.
Yeah.
We'd like to thank our guest, Miko Defoor, for appearing on our show. And we'd also like to thank you, the viewers, for joining us. So be sure to tune in next time for another episode of Rural Hollywood.